Today's podcast is brought to you by Mechanics Bank. Mechanics Bank is here to help you with everyday life, whether that's buying a home, renovating a kitchen, or paying for college. They have the products and, more importantly, the people to help you breathe easy and say, that's better. Check out mymechanics.com, call, or visit to see how they can make banking better for you. Mechanics Bank is an equal housing lender. Welcome to the Open Mic Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Jones. I'm very excited because today I have a very special guest. He's been a drummer of many musical projects, played a show with Black Sabbath in 1997, and is best known as the drummer of Godsmack. Shannon Larkin, hey, how are you?
I'm good, Noah. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. I'm so happy to have you on the show. We spoke a little bit before about you playing your show with Black Sabbath. You want to just start off by talking to me a little bit about that? I'm sure that's one of your idols growing up as a musician.
Yes. That was just a surreal moment in which I had met Robert Trujillo through Whit Crane, who was the singer for Ugly Kid Joe, a band that I jammed with. And Whit had dragged Robert out to see me play in a different band that was a side project, and it was a rockabilly band, believe it or not. So Trujillo saw me play one time with a rockabilly band, and then flash forward a year and a half, and Trujillo was Ozzy's bass player at the time, and Ozzy, of course, the Ozzy Osbourne band was touring with Black Sabbath, and for both bands, the drummer was Michael Borden from Faith No More, and at this time in '97, Faith No More was still together. So what happened was Ozzy blew his voice out in Ohio, and they had to cancel the show the day of the show, and the crowds were, oh my God, overturning cars and starting fires. And so Sharon, who was at the show, Osbourne, ran out on stage and said, the makeup date is going to happen in 2 weeks. So, and everybody settled down. So anyway, Michael Borden said, well, in 2 weeks, I got to leave and go and do Faith No More. I can't do the show, the makeup show. And so through Robert Trujillo, having seen me play once in this rockabilly band, he said, I know the dude that can do it. And then next thing you know, my phone rings and it says Sharon Osbourne. I'm like, yeah, right. But it was her. And, I got the gig, and it was amazing. And at one point, I'd never been on a Learjet before. And so I get there, I ride from the hotel to the Learjet, by the way, in a limo with Tony Iommi, who I'd never met. So I was totally just freaking out, And so we get on the Learjet, and we take off out of L.A., and about 45 minutes into the trip, Ozzy stands up. It's hot in here, man. And smoke starts billowing. This is true. Smoke starts billowing out of the air conditioning vents, and the plane starts turning around. And then the captain comes on and says, we're having an electrical fire. Everybody just sit down and put your seatbelts on. Everything's going to be okay, but we're heading back to L.A. And just me, having, this was like the moment of my life, and looking around and seeing Ozzy and Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler and Trujillo and all these legendary icon idols of mine, and they all had this scared look on their face. And I looked out the window, man, and with a smile, and I was like, if this plane goes down, I will be forever known in the history of music as the dude that was the drummer for Black Sabbath that went down in the plane with Ozzy. So I wasn't even scared a bit. But incidentally, we get back to L.A., we get on another Learjet, fly to the show in Ohio, and I got to live a rock and roll dream for any kid that grew up in the 70s and 80s like me and play the Sabbath. But I also got to play with Ozzy and open up for Sabbath with Ozzy. So got to play a lot of my favorite songs that I learned to play drums, playing these songs, to my stereo on 10 when I was a kid and stuff. So it was definitely a moment that was up there with, having my first child. It was that important in my life.
Yeah, well, I just imagine, there are songs that I listen to now that I've practiced playing guitar on and stuff like that. It just seems sort of the thing that you grow up, even you play baseball in the backyard, you always dream of these big situations that you might get to be in, and you got to be in that big situation. That just has to be one of the coolest feelings of the world to actually get to do that. So it's an incredible memory that I'm sure you'll cherish for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's hard even to put into words how rad it is. It's like, oh my God, even to this day. Like, and after that happened, honestly, I was in a punk band named Amen, and we put out a couple records in 2000s, early 2000s. But after I played that gig with Sabbath, I was just kind of like, I can quit. Like, nothing will ever top that as a lifelong musician, But of course I didn't, and thank goodness I didn't, because after I quit Amen, 2 weeks after I quit Amen, and my friend Sully Una called me, and boom, 17 years later, here I am, still happy and still playing drums. So it all worked out.
Excellent. And I also saw in doing a little bit of research for this interview that you were credited with being on at least, I think, an EP, if not a full record, for Vanilla Ice. Is that correct?
Yes. I played the whole record, Hard to Swallow, which was his comeback record. And it was produced by Ross Robinson, who was famous at the time for Slipknot and Korn and Limp Bizkit and Amen, my band. But, he had called me and said, "Hey man, this is going to sound crazy, but I've been talking to Rob Van Winkle, Vanilla Ice, and he wants to do a sick, heavy record. He wants me to put the band together and write the record. He's just going to sing, and he wants the heaviest record we can come up with."
Wow.
And so I said, it's Vanilla. I don't know. I didn't know Rob at the time. He ends up being the coolest dude. But at the time, I'm like, I don't know if I want to play on Vanilla Ice record, man. And Rob was like, "Dude, you're in a punk rock band. What's more punk rock than playing on a Vanilla Ice record?" And I said, "Good point." And so we put a band together and recorded that record, which, it's a great record to this day. I swear, if you got anybody listening to this likes heavy music, it's a real heavy record. And for drums, it's one of my best drum records too, because Ross Robinson, the producer, was just egging me on. He would stand 2 feet in front of the drum kit and scream at me when I was recording. It was amazing. And I also did a Glassjaw record with Ross Robinson called Worship and Tribute. And that's another monster of a drum record. Ross just pulls it out of you, man.
Well, that's awesome. So it sounds like you're getting to do a lot of different genres. Is it difficult at all? Like, do you have to sort of learn how to play different genres, or is it just something that you've sort of known how to do for long enough that it's a really easy transition from, I mean, I know you said it was a little bit of a heavier record than Ice Ice Baby, for instance, but from band genres to other genres?
Yeah, no, the cool thing about my upbringing was, my mom was into like the classic rock and the 70s bands, and she turned me on to like pretty much the earliest heavy metal, like Black Sabbath, for instance, Judas Priest, believe it or not. And my dad loved the 50s doo-wops and Elvis and country, and it was Waylon Jennings, it was Merle Haggard and Hank Sr. and all these things. So I was kind of, with the Elvis thing, I that's what turned me on to like blues music. So, and my parents were not musicians, they were just music lovers. And so I was very lucky to be raised in an environment in which it wasn't genre specific. They loved everything from, like I said, 50s music all the way up to when heavy metal first started, And so when I started playing, it was I'm self-taught, and since my influences were so diverse, then my playing was just naturally diverse as a youngin'. And the only thing I never really, really liked, was some of the pop stuff and commercial music. But as far as everything else, I tried to play. And I tell you this, when people ask me for musical advice, like young musicians, I'll always say firstly to wear earplugs, because I didn't, and now I'm suffering in my old age of deafness. But and secondly, though, I'm like, always explore different genres. And even if you don't like, say country music, for instance, learn some music. I don't care if you're a bass player, guitar player, drummer, singer. Learn some country songs, because just the whole difference of it makes you approach your instrument in a different way, and any kind of different way you can play is what's going to set you apart from other players as a musician. And, if this is what the life you choose, it's a real hard life, and you got to be special in ways, to get the gig.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of gigs, of course, we're talking about incarceration today. You're playing July 13th on Saturday. Talk to me a little bit about the excitement that you and the entire Godsmack band has for the music festival.
Yeah, well, we are trying to play something off every record, which is hard because, we got a bunch now, and a lot of songs that we have to play that we can't. We'll let down our whole fan base if we don't play like I Stand Alone or Voodoo or something,
Right.
And so it's tough. So what we're trying to do, and of course we're musicians, so I know how we're fans first, but we're musicians also. So we know as fans that we can't play a whole new record and not play all the old hits and stuff, because we wouldn't want to go see that, as fans. But with that said, as musicians, we want to play as much new material because it's not, we've played Voodoo a bazillion times, and not that it's boring to play anymore or something, but it's, it's not new and fresh. And so with that said, we're trying to get as much new stuff in, but still keep the set list full of old stuff from every record we put out, so we can try and please our fans. Because really, I as cliche as it sounds, that's what it's about. If the fans walk away happy, then we're happy. If they walk away saying, "Damn, man, they didn't even play, Speak or whatever song they like,"
Right.
So we're trying really hard to do that. And of course, we have this awesome drum solo, that Sully comes out and jams with me, and we do this battle and stuff, and that's kind of, our fan base expects that too, but it's a 10-minute piece, so that knocks out 2 songs that we'd be able to put in the set normally, but it's worth it to us, so we always do the drum solo. But it makes it difficult to write a set list, obviously, because, we're wanting to play new songs and then having too many hits, I guess.
Sure.
It's a good problem to have, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Absolutely.
But, when you ask what we
All right, Noah?
Yes?
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but we're running out of time.
Okay, can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, yeah.
So what is most exciting about getting to play a festival? Is it the fact that you get to play for a bunch of fans, or is it that you sort of get to be a fan yourself and see all these other bands that you may have played with before?
That's a great question, and it's a little bit of both, but not so much seeing the bands play as actually seeing the bands backstage, because we've been doing this for so long, and we know all the bands, almost all the bands we play with on these festivals, we've played with for years, and or toured with and become friends with, so these festivals to us are like big family reunions, man. I walk to catering and I'm like stopping at every table, "Hey, Beryl, I haven't seen you in years," and it's just always a cool thing. And then, certain bands, I definitely make it a point to go out outside stage and watch them play too, and I'm glad I do, because I tell you, like 2 weeks before Chris Cornell passed, we got to play with them, and I was standing on the side of the stage watching that dude sing, and I'd never done that. I'd never got that close to him, and his voice was so powerful. You could hear it over the monitors. It was amazing, right? And then, of course, 2 weeks later, he was gone, and the only thing I thought to myself was, "Damn, man, thank goodness that I walked out there and just saw a few songs, before he died." So I definitely try to get out there and see as much music as I can as a fan also, But the coolest part is, boom, man, it's like you get to say hi to all your friends that you haven't seen in years,
Absolutely. Well, Shannon, thank you so very much for joining the Open Mic Podcast. I look forward to seeing you on July 13th, and I wish you the best of luck in the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Noah. Thanks for spreading the word, man.
Yeah, have a great day.
You too.
All right, Shannon? Hello? you.